Hello Call of Duty fans, welcome back. IHOLDSHIFT with you guys for the Day 3 recap from Wednesday the 22nd. A lot of things going down, and well, this day, going into it, I thought it was going to be a pretty easy to predict day, and goodness did it give us a lot of heart-wrenching moments for a number of reasons. Let's just go ahead and dig through it though, as there's a lot to talk about at the end of the video with our betting predictions and things like that. So going over what our schedule was, we had Evil Geniuses going up against FaZe Clan first, Reciprocity versus UYU, and then we would finish off the back half of our day with OpTic and Midnight and Gen G and Luminosity. Now, on paper, all of these teams are relatively close to each other in the standings, with the exception of Gen G and Luminosity in Division A. More specifically, if OpTic were to have found a win today, they would have secured themselves the #1 spot in Division A going into Anaheim. But let's start off with FaZe Clan and Evil Geniuses, two teams that have been really on the surge lately. I think that would be hard to deny considering what Evil Geniuses has been able to do, going nearly flawless in their hardpoint up until they lost to OpTic the other day. And then for FaZe Clan, well, this is another team that has been doing very, very well in their respawn, toting a very similar record, but had some questions as far as if their search would come up to par. This game would go to 5, and goodness, did it start off hot. A very back and forth battle that we would see be played on Seaside, doing Seaside things as it normally does. Evil Geniuses would be able to eke out a win, but it was a very close set. The next search was very definitively for Evil Geniuses. They were able to smack around FaZe Clan to the tune of a 6-1 victory on Arsenal, which is strange because I think that was FaZe Clan's pick as we were going into this one. So from there, it would have to be FaZe Clan trying to battle back for a reverse sweep. Now, personally, by watching the Seaside hardpoint, I thought FaZe Clan was going to be able to walk away with it. They were up for a number of portions of the map. Didn't seem to quite be able to close things out. Evil Geniuses would outlast them, and I thought that should have been FaZe Clan's game. So the potential of reverse sweep is very much so there. We would go to the control. This was kind of an interesting situation because Evil Geniuses has been very good at Arsenal control, but not very good anywhere else. We would play this one on Gridlock. It would be pretty definitively in favor of FaZe Clan of 3-1, then a 250 to 123 hardpoint where we would send things to a map 5 search and destroy. That would be on frequency, where it would start off vastly in favor of Evil Geniuses, just looking like the better team when it came to their set pieces and how they were setting up the map strategically. FaZe Clan said, enough of that, we're just going to run at you for a number of rounds, and they were able to find themselves a handful of rounds to even things up at 4-4 and then take the last two. They would win this one 3-2. A 6-4 was the final on the frequency search. It was a tough start for Mr. Ya Boy over here, who was sitting here thinking, easy 4-team parlay bets coming through, easy predictions for today. That one put me on edge for sure. We would jump forward to Reciprocity versus UYU. Again, Den's in the mix, and UYU coming off of their win versus Luminosity might be feeling some resurge here. And well, we would get ourselves what looked to be a very convincing win for Reciprocity at first, but UYU would not go away in the first hardpoint. And well, when that happens, you start to feel the shift in the momentum go towards the team that was starting to put together a comeback. It would be UYU just a touch short. That was on Hacienda hardpoint. The search and destroy, very back and forth, but UYU would be able to actually eke out the last handful of rounds, making it a 6-4, and then able to actually find themselves the control. Now again, Reciprocity has been very bad at control, just with their substitution of Dens, but even before that, they were not a very strong control team. UYU typically has not done better, but in the Division A, they have played better than I would say Reciprocity has in the control. Specifically, they would take that one here, and then we would go to Arsenal hardpoint. Oh my goodness. Go back and watch the last two maps of this set. Yes, this goes to 3, which means that Reciprocity will win this one, but it would be 248 to 230 something or other for Reciprocity, and they would go down to the second hardpoint hill where they would not have spawns, and they were able to fight things out. You could just see the composure of UYU just not playing the situation properly, playing in a panicked mode where they're going in one by one, and Reciprocity kept coming off respawn and be able to find themselves favorable trades in their numbers. Reciprocity would come out of this one just alive, 250 to 248, and then they would go down 4-1 or 4-0, I can't remember exactly, for the search and destroy, but Reciprocity would find 5 straight rounds and win it 6-4. What an insane set of comebacks, just generally speaking, for both teams. UIU able to do it in the first 2 maps, Reciprocity able to do it in the last 2. A very good set, but Reciprocity would win. And then from there, we get things a little bit more casual, and that's where the bets started to come into play. OpTic would find themselves a pretty convincing 3-0 versus Midnight, who really honestly would not go away in their first hardpoint played on frequency. Midnight just kept battling in, had a couple of streaks moments, but OpTic was just too strong. Crimsix, who started off very, very slow on frequency with the KN, ended up picking things up. Karma as well had a very good day as he was playing with the KN as well for most of the time on frequency. Double KM setup, very interesting. The Search and Destroy, 6-3 for OpTic, 3-0 Control, 3-0 in the set for OpTic over Midnight, who have now slipped and lost their last 3 straight after going 2-1 in their first week of Division A resurge, or the revamp, I guess I would say. Luminosity, Gen G. Luminosity have not won a single map outside of Control, and Gen G have not looked particularly good in the Control. We had this one predicted to go a 3-1 for Gen G with them losing the Control. Honestly, this one should have been a 3-0. The hard point was pretty decided for Gen G. The Search and Destroy was back and forth, went all the way to round 11 where Luminosity could clutch things out. Gen G really should have closed that one a number of different times though. And then we would go to the last hard point. That one was a little bit closer. It was played on frequency. A lot of frequency played today, actually, for hardpoint. 250 to 229, Gen G survive, and they find themselves that 3-1. So looking at tomorrow's schedule to round out our last day of Division A until Anaheim. FaZe Clan versus Midnight, Reciprocity, and Evil Genius, that'll be a good one. Gen G and UIU, and then OpTic will be going up against Luminosity. Let's start things off talking FaZe and Midnight first. Again, this FaZe Clan team has been nothing short of spectacular, especially in the respawn, where they have not dropped a single control this week. They are by far the best control team in Division A, as we've seen these last 2 weeks kind of pan out, which is very interesting to hear that stat be thrown around. But they have been very questionable in the Search and Destroy. Midnight, on the other hand, has also had a couple of great moments, but none of them have been very consistent. As you see some of their averages as they pop up, their best mode, I would say, probably comes down to their Search and Destroy, which is where they might be able to find some success versus FaZe. But generally speaking, I think the respawn of FaZe is just way too strong for this Midnight team. Going on forward, taking a look, Evil Geniuses versus Reciprocity. Again, Evil Geniuses starting off hot with that 4-0 start. They would lose their last 2, of course, that 5-game set versus FaZe. This one against Reciprocity should be a good one. And really it comes down to whoever you think will win the Control, because that's honestly where I see this set going. Both teams have been relatively good at hardpoint and Search throughout the last 2 weeks, kind of having an even average and stat line between the two of them, at least as far as the last 6 games that they've played have gone. It just comes down to who's going to find that bit of success when it comes to the Control. Both teams do prefer Arsenal. Most of their wins when it comes to their Control have been on Arsenal. So will we see this one be decided on the maps that, or on the map rather, that both these teams favor for the Control? Very well could be. We'll talk more about the predictions on that one as we get into our betting breakdown. Moving on forward though, the back half of our day, Gen G and UIU will start things off. And this Gen G team, goodness, I mean, again, even the set versus Luminosity, you never really felt super comfortable outside of the Control, and even still, most of those Control rounds went down to the last 4 or 5 lives for each team before it would end, with the exception of the last one, which was kind of more of a stomp as Gen G had streaks. But the hard points have not been convincing really whatsoever for Gen G. Their wins and losses have all been relatively narrow, as most of them have gone above 200 each direction, so 250 to 200 plus of something of that nature, with the exception of a couple. They did have one bad loss versus FaZe Clan, and they had a pretty convincing win today versus Luminosity, as well as one versus Reciprocity earlier in the week. But this team has not been convincing. Not the same kind of convincing that we've seen from them in the past. So is there an opportunity here for UIU? I think slightly, but you take a look at UIU's stats and you can't really see many situations where they're going to be able to match up versus Gen G. They did play better today. The entire team really seemed to be moving on the same page against Reciprocity. But again, you take a look at some of those instances where they lose that 248 to 250. They technically should have won that set versus Reciprocity. The fact that they're not able to close things out, same thing with the Search and Destroy, has me very worried. These are two teams that struggle to close out teams, at least as far as we've seen these last couple of weeks. So it'll be interesting to see what will happen with that one. And then LG and OpTic, again, LG is just completely chalked up at this point. Yeah, they found themselves their first Search one, but they have not won a hardpoint in their last 10 matches, or last 10 maps played in hardpoint, which is terrible. And in fact, most of them haven't even been all that close. They did have a 237 to 250 loss, but that was to UYU, and they also lost 225 to 250. That was to Midnight. So against a good team, they have not put up much of a fight. Evil Geniuses in their first week, 128 to 250 and 63 to 250. You put OpTic, I'm sure, in a much different level beyond that. And then you also take a look at the fact that OpTic has been so good at search. This should be a pretty easy prediction. I think you guys know where I'm going to go with it. Let's take a look back, though, at our bookie's worst nightmare for all of our predictions on the games, but also if you're looking for some betting advice, I'll kind of steer you in a direction where the lines have been favorable or not favorable. It might just be a debate. But here we go. Taking a look, adding in Wednesday. Again, we had that fat 4-team parlay today, and it was a scary one, but it paid out nicely if you ended up betting it with me. Congratulations to you. We also did 2 spread bets, one with the Reciprocity versus UYU. That one did not go our way, but the one versus Gen G and Luminosity did go our way. So if you did bet those, again, congratulations to you guys. Let's take a look to see what we're going to bet here for Thursday, what our predictions are. Again, starting off with FaZe in Midnight, minus 325, the underdogs for FaZe Clan. They have a minus 140 on the spread bet. You see how they're able to do in their last 10. Their search has been, again, the mode that I'm a little bit more concerned about and where I see Midnight potentially taking a round. But again, I don't see them taking more than a map as you take a look at their plus 240 as the underdogs, plus 110, even to find 2 maps. I don't see them doing that here. I've got this one going 3-1, and I'll list FaZe Clan as a potential parlay option for you guys because I think this one will pretty much be confirmed that FaZe should be able to win this one without much of an issue. And then you take a look down at our bottom side of our first half of games. We got Evil Geniuses going up against Reciprocity. EG, the favorites here, pretty convincingly too by the stat lines, minus 220 for them to win, and then a plus 100 or an even bet line for them to cover the spread. You take a look, their hardpoint has been very good lately, but let's talk about Reciprocity. They're plus 165 as the underdogs here, only minus 130 for them to cover 2 maps, which I think is actually a pretty favorable bet. You take a look at them, and the last 10 sure do not look nearly as convincing as the last 10 for Reciprocity, or pardon me, for Evil Geniuses, but this team has been perfect on hardpoint since Dens was inserted into the roster. That's one big thing to keep in mind for this Reciprocity team with the swap, is that there have been more consistent gameplay in their respawn. Their Search and Destroy has been just about the same. There have been either wins or narrow losses, which is why I actually have this one going 3-2 for Reciprocity. Upset potential picks here, but your safe bet, I think, if you're looking to win at least a fringe bit of money on that minus 130, the spread bet is a good one. That is one that I would probably recommend if you were going to bet this one at all. I would be careful as far as trying to bet this one and the upset potential. If you're feeling feisty with it, though, feel free to put a couple of dollars. The plus 165 is a good line to go off of, but if you're feeling a little bit safer, the spread bet I think is a safer option for you if you're looking to catch some fringe dollars there. Let's go to the back half of the day, though. We've got Gen G and UYU, and Gen G, honestly, I mean, it just comes down to the fact that their respawn has been good, even though it's been a little inconsistent. We saw some signs of life from them today in the Search and Destroy as well. They're minus 650. The heavy favorites coming in, and their minus 1.5 spread will be at the line of a minus 225. UYU, again, plus 425. It looks like a bet that you might want to throw a couple dollars at, but honestly, I just don't see this one going UYU's way. I've got this one going a 3-0. I just don't see. Maybe UYU is able to take a control or a search if Gen G is not feeling very comfortable on the map that they're going with, but I just don't see any situation where UYU has any upset potential here. So I've got Gen G winning this one 3-0. Chalk that one to another potential parlay bet if you're looking to get involved in a little bit longer of a match winner line. Then the last game of the day, Luminosity, OpTic Gaming. We talked about this one enough. It's plus 290 for Luminosity as the underdogs, and for them to cover 2 maps, it's only minus 110, which honestly, I don't know where these lines came from, why they're matched up so much closer to OpTic than what we saw Midnight lined up against them today. So then you take a look again, 0 and 10. The last hard points not good. OpTic Gaming, I've got this one. This is actually okay. This is where this bet gets a little bit more favorable when you take a look at OpTic's lines. Yes, they're minus 400 to win, but for them to find a 3-1 or a 3-0 is only a minus 120. I would suggest hitting that one if you're looking to spread bet. Personally, I'll be touching this one onto a parlay as well with what I have predicted as a 3-0 here for OpTic. So you take a look at what bets I'm suggesting for this one. I will be going with the upset pick personally with Reciprocity over Evil Geniuses. The plus 165 is a pretty good one, but again, if you want to bet that game, I would recommend staying on the spread if you want to try find one that's a little bit safer, but it won't obviously pay off as much. And then beyond that, the OpTic 1.5 versus Luminosity, I don't think you can turn away from that minus 120. It should be a pretty sure thing. And then I've got a 3-way parlay bet going on for FaZe, OpTic, and Gen G. Those are my bets for you guys today. Good luck if you are out there betting. If you want to talk about the games or just more betting advice and things of that nature, you want to kind of get opinions of other people in our little YouTube community, feel free to join in our Discord in the description below. I'd love to see you. We've had a lot of people coming through, and well, those that talk are seeming to have a good time. So feel free to jump in with us. We're going to be doing some voice chat things, and if we get enough people, maybe we'll do some viewer 10s on PS4 if you're interested. So feel free to join, and we'll try to get that all set up for you guys here in the near future. Until tomorrow, then, when we wrap up the entire week, catch you guys later. Hope you keep holding it down. Later, bye-bye.